Hello guys, welcome back. It's Illogical as always, and today we're going to be doing a challenge run, so we are. This challenge run has a couple of rules to it. Rule number one is level lock. Level lock basically means that we are stuck at level 20 until we obtain either a remembrance or a Great Rune. A Great Rune gives us 10 levels, and a remembrance will give us 5. So that gives us an idea of how many levels we will be able to obtain. Other than that, we are region locked with exceptions. There are exceptions to this rule, so there is. Region lock is basically I'm not allowed to leave a region without having killed all of the bosses. There are a few exceptions to this rule, basically bending of the rules. So there is to that there because of certain restrictions or requirements to obtain certain bosses, so to speak. After that we have the Taunter's Tongue active, so we do. So the Taunter's Tongue basically allows PvP to happen while just going through the game. It's basically Dark Souls 1 rules, so it is. Basically, if Taunter's Tongue is active, you're going to get invaded regardless, and there's where the fun of it is. And this is the reason to why we are going to be running an arcane build for this run. It's mostly just as a test run, so to speak, to get the idea of what we're going to be doing. So yeah, more or less that's it. If there's anything else that I have to speak up about, I will as the run continues on. So obviously our first boss, and this is going to be the first gimmick of the run, is the Grafted Scion. I am not good enough at this stage. I am shite at PvE, so this boss we will need to come back to. And okay, if you remember how to get back to the boss, there's a restriction to this boss, unfortunately. Okay, so first up is Limgrave. Now, there's a couple of things that need to be done in Limgrave before obviously we can get started. Obviously, the first thing that you're going to see here is we are going to pick up the effigy. This is because I haven't limited co-op, and it's one-sided co-op. I'm not allowed to help, but I'm allowed to help other people. But now, at this stage, we are going to need to go and get heavily set up for what's going to come next. So that includes smithing stones and grabbing torrent. Obviously, we're going to need torrent to get ourselves through the map, so we're not exactly restricted, but it's also a fantastic indicator for whenever we get invaded, whenever Taunter's Tongue is active, because you will immediately get kicked off torrent. So kind of have to work with what you got here, guys. Next up, we start off by grabbing our map, because of course we're going to know where we're going. Grabbing a smithing stone, head up to the artist's shack to grab a painting as well as another smithing stone, because there's just what we're going to be needing at this stage, so we are. Then we take a quick pop down to a graveyard to grab ourselves some early game runes. This becomes extremely important later on, because at the start of the game you are severely hindered on runes, which is the biggest problem at this stage. But at the same time, we're also going to pick up the cookbook for the favourite cookbooks for sleep pots, because they're going to be invaluable. So they are. Next up, we get to the Church of Marika for our first sacred tier, as well as our mixed physic, because that there is brutally important for this run, so it is. After that we take a quick shout over to Garank over in Caelid. Obviously, this is the first rule bending of the run. The reason why we do this here is so we can get access to the Round Table Hold. And why do we need access to the Round Table Hold? It is so that we can get access to the Taunter's Tongue, as well as some very much so needed early game materials and early game requirements. But long story short, that there is more or less one of the rule bending. I haven't done anything in Caelid. I don't have access to Caelid other than to get access to the Round Table Hold. So a little bit of rule bending. Plus we get access to the smith for some much needed weapon upgrades, as well as access to our weapon arts. So we head back to Rani and pick up the Spear Calling Bell. This isn't restricted in this run, but I don't see the point in using it per se. This is more just being picked up for a separate reason that will become very apparent later on, if you know what I mean. AKA Colosseums. Haha. After that we speak to Halle again and pick up a few extra bits, as well as the finger calling remedy. This allows us to access our Taunter's Tongue and get it active. We also pick up some armor, because we're going to be in severe need of a lot of good defense. And unfortunately, the defense that I do require is unfortunately locked behind a hell of a lot of runes in the round table hold. So we will be upgrading quite rapidly at that stage. After that there, we take a quick shot back to the third church of market because we're going to Fort Height. This specific reason is for a few things. AKA, we've got golden seeds that we need to collect, as well as a knight that needs to be killed. And the reason why this knight needs to be put down immediately is because it has one of my favourite Ashes of War at this moment in the game. And that their exact Ash of War would be Bloody Slash. This weapon art is extremely good, but we also get a nice little leggings upgrade. We also grab the Dactus Medallion because of, well, reasons, as well as an extra smithing stone, and then I get outsmarted by a goddamn rat. Of course! With all that being said and done, we're going to pop back to Calais to get the finger snap emote, because we did pass Blythe in the woods, so we did, and we pick up a couple of cookbooks because I probably will end up making a good bit of crafting materials while I'm here. And while I'm here as well, we're going to upgrade our mace, and if anybody knows why, it is because we are heading to the Limgrave tunnels next to get ourselves a metric crap ton of smithing stones. So this is mostly just for early game stuff. Obviously this is like one of the first spots that you hit, so you can get a fully, well, level 1 smithing stone maxed out weapon as quick as possible, and that there's more or less the idea. Then I die to gravity. How fun! This just seems to happen an awful lot, so it does, but we do manage to get a couple of extra drops while we're making our way. And if anybody knows, the Stone Digger Troll has absolutely no dice against a mace. Strike damage in this game is busted sometimes. After Limgrave Tunnel, we make our way to the High Road Cave. There's a few reasons for this, and immediately it becomes evident. More smithing stones, plus upgraded smithing stones. But the main reason is the Shamshir, because it's going to be one of our main used weapons. After that there, of course, we're just going to take out the Golem, which is a piece of cake again for the mace. There's not going to be an awful lot of challenges just yet. Now with our weapon of choice in hand, we're going to bring it back to the smithy, upgrade it, as well as apply our brand new Ash of War, the Bloody Slash Ash. So yeah, possibly one of my favourite Ashes of War to date. Unfortunately, I can only have it infused with blood, so I can. And then we have our leveling. Of course, we are only level locked at level 20 for the meantime, but we are going to primarily focus on our vigor and endurance for survivability most cases. Then we go pick up our whetstone, finally, after needing it. So after picking up the whetstone, we got invaded. Now, if anybody knows, this guy is heavily twinked. He has the Godskin Stitcher, the Tree Sentinel armor, as well as Okina's mask. Now, bearing in mind that this stuff can't be obtained this early in the game, so this dude is obviously heavily twinked. Unfortunately, his skills just didn't back it up. A lot of the stuff that he had was from later on in the game. Carrying Retaliation's another piece of it too, as well as Red Bulbuses, which he didn't manage to make very good use of. At this stage of the fight, he's looking for a parry and a Mizio cord. If he's going for a parry, I'm not going to fall for it just as easily as he thinks. And the Godskin Stitcher as well, with a Frost Infusion as well. He's taunting me here as well, but he's going to very quickly realise that I'm not for messing around, so I'm not. And the rule is, fear the old blood, because this dude just gets mollywopped in an instant because he just tries to parry. And this is why I went with a bleed setup at the very first chance, just for this exact reason. So it didn't take long for me to get invaded again while I was tidying up a couple of loose ends. For example, freeing Bach, as well as getting access to the dungeons and so on and so forth. Didn't clear any of them yet, just accessing them so we can just jump around the map later on. So once I got invaded there, so now I'm away to look for them. I spotted them, and they proceeded to run away from me. Not once, but yeah, we got nice and close, nice face to face, you know. Tried to smack him, missed, tried to incite him to fight me a little bit. And then he's just like, yeah, no. He's just like, yep, I'm out of here, boys. And I'm just like, where the fuck are you going, dude? And then about 5 minutes later, as you can tell from the end game, it's now dark, and I managed to literally zip around, and he's warping all over the place looking for me. He finds me, and I'm just like, right, okay, are you going to fight me now, or are you going to run away? But this time, he's red, and he looks like he's going for business. Now, I've noticed that he's wearing the Black Knife Assassin gear, as well as dual-coded swords. That does indeed mean that he is indeed, in fact, twinked. Because you can only get one per playthrough, so he got it. 2 of them dropped for him. It's a shame though, because at this level, you're just ain't strong enough, mate. And he makes the mistake of trying to trade coded sword against a bloodblade. Like, that's not gonna work for you, mate. It doesn't work. But yes, this is why I have picked up a bleed build to start with. Okay, so after all that there, we decide to pop back to clean up a couple of loose ends. For example, talking to Blythe so we can get his reward for killing Darwell, picking up another smithing stone too for upgrades, as well as the Trina lilies because, well, they're just flat out going to be needed anyway because you need them to make sleep pots. Then we also grab our axe talisman as well. Then we head up to Stormhill, grab a seed on the way past, and then we get access to Rodrika. Now, obviously, we want to try and tidy up her storyline as well because it's an extra golden seed as well as an extra stone sword key, which we're going to need to get into other areas. But the main reason that I'm here is to deal with Rodrika's storyline because, well, mainly she gives us a seed if we follow through with it. Obviously, the jellyfish isn't really all that needed, so it isn't. After that, there we pop up, grab our strength nut here, and then get wombo comboed by Hendrickson. Is his name Hendrickson? I can't remember. And then we return to finish the job that we finished. Didn't finish the first time. Yeah. Kill ourselves a knight so we can get our hands on Golden Vow. I was hoping for something better to drop, but no, I got the Great Shield, of course. Pop down to the War Master's shack because we are going to be acquiring a couple of weapon arts. Primarily, oh yes, that's right, I got jumped by the dog and gave me a heart attack, so he did. I completely forgot about that. I completely forgot that I got jumped by a goddamn wolf. But no, the entire idea here is, the reason why we're also picking up the location is for our bell-bearing hunter later on. But he has 3 to 4 weapon arts that I really want. So he does, being Impaling Thrust, Stormblade, Parry and Spinning Slash, which will all come in really handy later on. Then we obviously upgrade our physic with some upgrades, and then we get back to our to-do list. Mainly free Alexander because we are going to be following his storyline as well because we're after his upgraded talisman later on down the line because there's a little bit of testing required. There's a lot of testing required to be fair, but this is mostly just for an extra bit of shits and giggles. So it is. After that there we head on down towards the Tibia Mariner. Now at this stage of the game what we're planning on doing here is we are going to apply Golden Vow to our scimitar, so that means we can get an extra buff active so we can, because we are going to probably partially dual wield. Now, obviously the Tibia Mariner is not the prize here, or for a lack of a better word, the kill. I just wanted to pick him up on the way past, save me having to go back. But the real prize for this is in fact the Stamina Talisman, because that's just beautiful. On our way back, we pick up the Sacred Blade Ash of War for later on down the line. And then we head back to the smithy to get some more upgrades. The reason for this is we are going to be challenging our main boss this time round. Plus we get another armor upgrade, so that's always a bonus. But our next boss, our next major pain in the ass, is indeed going to be Margit. Now, for anybody who does know about this, Margit is he's the first real challenge of a boss fight. So he is, because he's the one that he's the first real sort of challenge that it dictates whether or not your build's going to be strong enough to proceed with. So it is, and that is how Margit, I'm assuming, is designed. He's designed as the first major roadblock. Now, also take into mind that I also have been level capped and region locked. I don't have access to such things as the Radigan Scar Seal and stuff like that there. So I'm still going in very, very haphazardly with the minimal amount of stuff that I can get my hands on. AKA Axe Talisman. There's a few, you've got the Mixed Physic and stuff like that there. Margit, regardless, is always going to be a challenge due to the fact that he is normally heavily resistant. And at this stage of the game, I just simply don't have the upgrade materials in my weapon to do significant damage. And top of that there, my weapon art doesn't do poise damage as much as I would have liked. It does do bleed, but it just doesn't work as well as you would normally hope. I have come close to death many times because I keep forgetting that Bloody Slash kind of requires health to activate. So it's kind of one of those things where you're still running the 50-50 margin. But somehow, by some imaginative ability, I managed to somehow beat Margit with this rather pitiful build on my first attempt, which was rather ridiculous. So it was not an easy fight, but we get an extra talisman pouch. And after Margit, then we go and we use up the runes that we had to level up. Obviously, we're still not near the level cap just yet, but again, the idea sort of still sticks that we're going to probably, oh my god, my English, we are going to stick with vigor and endurance for survivability. I'm keeping that in, by the way, as well, because that's just funny. Now, Stormveil Castle was kind of, well, boring because it didn't get invaded, so there's not really much to talk about. But this Banished Knight is going to be my best friend because I'm going to farm his armor. That's how nice I am. And then, while I was making my way through Stormveil, I just got slapped by my own favourite weapon art. The joys! You know, just these things happen, so they do. And while I was making my way through Stormveil Castle, I decided to get the Grace next to the Divine Tower because we do have access to Great Runes in this run, as says this is still a test run, so it is. After that there, we decided, screw it, we'll go kill a Crucible Knight because, well, I think he was just there. I just felt like just 100% in Stormveil Castle at this rate. I just wanted to kill him. So it just felt like it. And with that there, then we were able to hopefully max out the rest of my levels to level 20, focusing on vigor. Unfortunately, my phone went off. That's a pain in the ass. Then we went down and picked up a couple extra bits and bobs, aka the whetstone the iron whetstone, as well as the Mizu cord. Now, whether or not the Mizu cord is going to be useful on an arcane build is sus. Grab a golden seed and then activate the Grace next to Godric's boss fight. Obviously, the reason why is so I can get back here whenever I'm needed. We take a quick skate back to the Twin Maiden Husks so we can get some upgrades, aka the helmet as well as the 2 rings to help with PvP. We do some finalizing of our upgrades, so we do, because any upgrades is good upgrades, and even though Godric isn't that much of an overwhelming challenge, it's more the PvP people I'm more worried about. We go down below Stormveil Castle so we can pick up an odd golden seed of the ulcerated tree spirit because screw them. And then it's on to Godric. Now, Godric, as we all know, is not a significant challenge. He can be, but not for the build that I'm using. Because primarily he's weak to bleed and I have a crap ton of damage to back me up. It's like, he's not an impressively difficult boss. He is one. If anything, he's easier than Morgott. Well, we'll go with Morgott because that is what he's called. That is what we know him to be at this stage. So it is. But no, in saying that there, like, it's as simple as this. Godric just got demolished. Bleed is just the easiest way to deal with most bosses. And yeah, unfortunately, Godric posed absolutely no threat. And to double down on this factor, even on his phase 2, it's not really all that much of a difference, bar the fact that he's got a dragon head as well as a couple of little fire attacks. As says, with the current setup that I have, it's Godric's unfortunately just flat out trivial, and especially whenever you, like, the one key thing that I have noticed with this specific type of build is the riposte damage is incredibly weak, so you're not aiming for it. What you're aiming for is the stagger, because with this stagger we're able to basically unload. That was why I kept this clip in. He nearly one-shot me. I completely forgot about that. He actually nearly one-tapped me. I completely forgot about that. Well, I suppose it would have been karma for me bear witnessing some poor fool. But no, All that being said, that there then means that we've got Godric's remembrance as well as his Great Rune, which means that we have now increased our level cap from 20 to 35. So it means that we've got an extra 15 levels to work with, guys. So after dealing with Godric, we've got a laundry list of things to do, like grabbing the Shibari Grape, grabbing the Grace, and then after that there we went and grabbed Godric's Great Rune for a hell of an upgrade, so we did. More or less that's going to be active more or less all the time. We went back to Nepheli so we can pick up the Arsenal Charm because we are going to be using heavier armor, and then we went back to Stormhill so we can grab the Golden Seed. So remember whenever I says that Banished Knight's going to become my best friend? Well, he did, and as well as my arch rival. But while farming him, I decided, right, well, we can do a bit of co-op shenanigans, and we were. And then I got the first major luck to this setup's ability, and scary is the least of my worries. But no, while I was farming this Banished Knight, he managed to get his overwhelming revenge on my ass. So he did. Well done, Banished Knight. And then with all of that there, got all the armor, went back to the round table hold to pick up a few last little bits and do a lot, just sort of follow up on a few extra little things that needed to be done. Like for example, talking to Roger, because we are going to be following his storyline as well. Even though it's not key to the entire thing, it's still nice to pick it up as we go along. So while we're doing that, we're going to also have a wee chat with Fia. So we are, and pick up the clue, so we can continue that one. And then it more or less just turns into a boss montage of me absolutely mopping the floor with every single beginner boss that there was. Realistically, at this stage, with the amount of power that I have in combination with Godric's Great Rune, as well as just my general abilities and weaponry, there's not really any bosses that really give me any trouble. We did make sure to spare patches for good reason. But no, I think the only real bosses that really give me bother was the Crucible Knight as well as the Bell-Bearing Hunter. You're seeing this here, I stopped back at patches to pick up 2 items. But no, other than that there, it was more or less quite clean and simple. This Crucible Knight messed me up something serious. You can tell I'm rusty. But I did return to finish the job because I refused to leave a job unfinished. He deserved everything he got. It was a shame because in the middle of all this here, I didn't get invaded once, which was a damn shame. With all the runes that we've got our hands on now, we can add a couple of more levels. Now this time we did focus a little bit more into our arcane as well as our endurance and vigor, and that was primarily so we can get a bit more damage going. And then we just returned to raiding up some of the bosses, really. The Black Knight Cavalry didn't matter. The Death Ray Bird is piss with a little bit of holy damage. The Bell-Bearing Hunter, however, is always and still a nightmare. His damage output is absurd. His health pool is absurd. So it is. There's the Soldier of Godric getting a lovely little one-tap. I was planning on leaving him. Went down into the hero's grave so we can pick up the Earth Tree Favor as well as take out our final boss, really. Oh no, that's right. I forgot about the Tree Sentinel. That was hilarious. I was wondering what's going on. I forgot about the damn Tree Sentinel, so I did. And then we're going to finish off Limgrave with a couple of more levels in our endurance and vigor. So Limgrave's finished. Off to the Weeping Peninsula now, so we are. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to talk to Henrietta so we can proceed with her quest line, because we are going to take the Frenzied Flame ending because we're an asshole. After that there we stop off with the merchant. He's got a couple of little bits that are going to we are going to find incredibly useful, so all good. After that there we go pick up the Turtle Shield because it's always happy to have, and we got invaded and then he just decided to return home, so nothing too interesting. Circle back to Castle Morn so we can grab the Grace, and then we circle back again to grab the Golden Seed as well as the map. After that there we take a quick stop up at the Frenzied Village. So I think it's called the Frenzied Village. Basically we're just going to tidy up the rats, pick up an incantation which isn't going to be used, and the main reason to why we're up here is the Sacred Tear. Of course, all health is good health, regardless. And then we have the first major pain in the ass of the run. We get invaded by a damn archer. And this is where my build starts to show its pain, because he is just unruly is the best way to put it. I have extended this clip out a whole lot longer than it actually is. He has range on his side, and he is sufficiently farther ahead in the game, so he's got much more Estus and poison arrows. Basically, long story short, whenever I was looking at this here, whenever I was actually fighting him, I was just like, yeah, I'm as good as screwed, because, yeah, with him using light roll, it is problematic for me to try and fight him at this stage. It is problematic for me to try and fight him. So I just sort of thought my way around it, and at this stage, there is actually no decent way for me to deal with him. And then he also has the bestial incantations, which is just it makes just this fight drag out. Like, it's a well refined build, but I immediately know that I can't deal with this guy at this stage. There's nothing that I can do. So I just went hell's bells for it. I knew I was going to die regardless. It was just I was done either way. There was no way of me beating him at this stage of the game. Even I can admit that. So I can. So we take another skate down to the church, grab another sacred tear. Then we deal with the Zamor hero, because we are going to be grabbing the Radigan Scar Seal. Not the good one, not the one that gives you +5, but the one that gives you +3. As it says, we don't have access to kill it because of the region lock. So this is the best that we're going to get for this stage of the game. And it was a much appreciated helping hand. So it was grabbing our sacred tear and our church, because I don't know why, but Weeping Peninsula seems to have an awful lot of golden seeds and sacred tears, so it does. And then he invades again, only this time I have a different strategy to deal with him, aka how to deal with archers. Either have an immense amount of pressure or rely on your shield. So I decided to do the one thing that I thought was actually a half decent idea, was just keep my range. Bad idea against an archer, but it's you kind of have to pick your moments. But I ended up having to rely on my shield at this stage, because there was just no way of me beating him at this stage. That's the problem. But it depends on how you view things, so it does, because I did this. I think this went on for about 4 minutes, and I did end up switching to a shielded rapier. So I just stalled him out and waited to see what he was going to do, and in the end up, I think I just annoyed him to the point of, yeah, fuck this guy. I'm not dealing with this guy. So I have my shield out, I have my rapier out. I think he just sort of thought, right, fuck this shit. I'm not wasting my time with this guy. That's all I can say. He wanted to play passive. That's not my issue. And then I proceed to get chain invaded 2 more times. This guy and another guy. But I think I understand why your ranged guy kept his distance from me. It is primarily because my current setup is disgusting. Like, I don't think it takes much to say that. Like, my current setup is quite vicious, so it is. I think I will take this opportunity to actually apologise to every single invader that I came across in this playthrough. I'm going to take this moment now to apologise, because you lot didn't deserve this ass whooping. I am sorry. You lot didn't deserve this. So you didn't. I'm sorry. So, back to Warren Castle. This is more or less the boss montage section of Weeping Peninsula, because realistically it didn't take much for me to read up the rest of it, as my build is just gotten to the point where I'm pretty damn strong, like, and yeah, it just, well, I got overwhelmed there, like, but nothing a quick bloody slash can't fix. But no, realistically, the main boss to the Weeping Peninsula is this guy here, and unfortunately he kind of just cripples under my power. So in saying that there, the bloody slash Ash of War is deceptively powerful, but that's kind of the reason to why I'm doing this. Trust me, this gets much worse later on, so it is, because as I'm editing this, I'm currently in Lindell, so I am. But yeah, this is basically the obligatory boss rush of the of the Weeping Peninsula, and quite frankly, there wasn't really much that sort of stood in my way. So there wasn't. Unfortunately, it was uneventful. I got through all the invaders that I got through, but there wasn't really any bosses that really posed that much of an overwhelming threat to me. As says, I'm still level locked, so I am. I'm still level locked and I'm still region locked. Like, I'm level 35 here, guys, and there's not really much that's stopping me from completely steamrolling, so there isn't, which is remarkable to say the least. Like, even some of the most difficult bosses, but even at that though, like, it demonstrates the sheer power of bleed builds. Like, everybody said, like, we already know bleed is busted, but bleed is, in this stage, bleed is super busted. Well, until it comes to a Deathbird, then you use holy damage and then it's just as bloody easy, so it is. And then, as far as I'm aware, we then decide, oh yes, that's right, I completely forgot. We got up to some cooperative shenanigans. So we did. I completely forgot about that. Some cooperative shenanigans. Got an upgrade for the Banished Knight helm, so I'm quite happy with that. But no, yeah, some cooperative shenanigans aside, I think, yeah, there's going to be a problem. So, during one of our rounds of cooperative shenanigans, this is probably the only invader that I felt truly sorry for, because he got comboed into oblivion, so he did. I do feel sorry for him, so I do. That just was unnecessary. On the other hand, during another round of cooperative shenanigans, this guy here was impressive, because tactically there's three people in this currently in this world, right? The Red Phantom managed to beat the other Phantom, so he did, which was, by any extent of the imagination, impressive. Now, our host isn't a full-blown ganker. I think he's just trying to have fun making his way through the world, because he's just having his Phantoms fight other Phantoms. It's just, as it says, it's just another form of entertainment. But this guy managed to beat the other Phantoms, so now it's my turn to have a go at him. And he proved, he's not bad. He's not bad. As says, there's no rules in this, but he did score a parry, and unfortunately he didn't commit to it. Dude, I've been there, so I have parried people and never committed. I know how it feels, so I do. But unfortunately, in this particular circumstances, unfortunately my build just outclasses his. It's not even a game of skill, it's just a case of I have more. And it's how this, it's why I hold back. It's, I have more, so it is. That's how bad it is. But he did get his opportunity again to try and get revenge. Now, a funny thing is, again, he beat the Phantom again. And now it's my turn to fight him again. So, I actually have massive respect for this guy, because even though he lost to me the first time, he is still willing to have a go at me again. Now, I'm pointing at him to get into the warming stone so you can heal up. I'm not that kind of dishonourable. I will wait until you heal up, so I will. I like having a fair fight. Just because I have so many stupid advantages, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to fight fair. So, both of us, full health. Your guy's activating Taunter's tongue again for some reason. I'm assuming he's trying to get more invaders. Don't know what he's doing there. But, guys, if you have seen anything so far, I'm assuming you already understand what's going to happen. The problem is, and unfortunately this is the problem, it's down to the fact that my build just sheerly outclasses his in a lot of ways. In terms of damage, aggression, just in general, all out force. He can't keep up with my onslaught. Even if he tried to parry, I learn and adapt. GG again, sir. And then we get to the cream of the crop. He invades one more time and made him go for the third and final round. So we do. I have to give him credit. He, even in his situation, he didn't give up. I will give him full credit. Even in this situation, he didn't give up, which I was thoroughly impressed with. So it's whenever he earned my respect, so he did. Even though he couldn't keep up, he was able to earn my respect in the most simple way. Like, he's not over twinked, he's not over leveled, he's just, I'm here in base gear. GG, sir, you have my respect. After our cooperative shenanigans, it's off to CO for River, which, in my opinion, was relatively underwhelming. But as says, it's on the hit list to clean up, so it is. But it wasn't all that entertaining. We just stopped by the merchant, so we did. Picked up a few bits that we're going to need, aka cookbooks and stuff like that there in the Larval tier, just in case that something needs to be rejigged later on. Now, more or less, it was just an item run. So it was an item run and a couple of bosses. We picked up the golden seeds. So we did, and we picked up the grace that we're going to need for later on, as says, because from this grace we can move our way into Caelid to get to the Great Jar. So we can. After that, there we take out in the ancestral spirits, ancestral spirit. Jesus, that was a difficult one to get out. And I've noticed that this area is actually quite a little bit more higher level than where I'm normally at, because they didn't take as much damage. And then you had this gobshite. This guy mopped the floor with me, technically a statistical amount of 3 times, so he did. Even for my build, this dude hits like a freight train, so he does. And then on the actual third attempt, I actually ran away. I actually ran away from this boss. That's how bad this was. I ran away. Came back, went and upgraded my shit and got all that there done. Went and rejigged my physics and shit like that there. And then came back and finally managed to destroy him. But what I was surprised at was my severe lack of damage. So this was the point where I thought, right, this is where we're going to need our major recalibration, so we are. Because I just don't have the damage to kill this guy. But perseverance will always prevail. The joys. So next up is the Lakes of Liurnia, and we're going to start off by talking to Henrietta. The reason why we're going to the lakes at this stage is because Caelid's too difficult to even go into, so the only other option we have is the lakes. So we're going to make a quick stop here, grab a sacred tear, then head to the merchant, grab more or less all the important stuff that he has, aka smithing stones, cookbooks, weapons. I've already picked up a latron. Oh, good. Get a map fragment. Can't remember her name, so I can't. But we're doing her questline too. Grab the dexterity tier on the way to the boiled prawn shack. Now, for most people that do understand, obviously I'm doing a PvP oriented run at this stage, so of course boiled prawns are going to be a major need at this stage. So because of that there, and whatever co-op that we've done, plus all the runes that we've gathered over time, we're going to be able to get ourselves a substantial stack of prawns to keep us going until we have to get into Lindell so we can get the boiled crab. Okay, and then we bring back her necklace back to her so we can progress her storyline and get access to the Volcano Manor. Now to explain what I am going to be doing is we're going to be going up the left side of Liurnia, dealing with everything we can en route, aka Evergold's invasions for example Shibiri grapes, stuff like that there. We just sort of take out what we can along the left side, so we do, and then we grab the Carrier Manor grace so we can warp back, obviously. Take a scout over to the other side of the map, stop at the merchant, grab a few more bits like cookbooks and rune arcs because we've got runes to spare at this stage, so we do. Grab an sacred tear and a golden seed. Now, while we're making our way back down the right side of the lakes, the inner side, I would say, we get invaded by this chappie. And I'm sorry, but I hate fast rolls, or the long distance rolls, because this guy, I couldn't finish him, which kind of annoyed me in so many ways. This fight went on for a good 3 minutes, so it did, but he just annoyed me because he just ran away. So he did all the time, just constantly running away, and then he just decides to sever out, and I'm just like, dude, just take your loss graciously. Grab the grace at the Carrion Study Hall, because we're going to be coming back here later as well. Decided to take out the Tibia Mariner on the way past as well, because it's just, he's in the way really, so he is, so just kill him. And then we get invaded while we're trying to get our hands on another Shabriri grape. Now this invader had a little bit more manners, because I think he's directing me towards Henrietta at this stage. Well, I believe that's the case until he tries to pull a fast one on me later on. So he does. So we just sort of stand and laugh, but he doesn't understand that I still need to go grab the Shabriri grape, and we pick up the Faith Talisman as well, just in case of later on use. He decides this would have been the perfect opportunity for him to gank me, but he didn't, or ambush me, but he didn't, which is weird. And then while I'm trying to talk to her, what do? They try to attack me. And then to put it as politely as I can, I think he regrets every decision he ever made for that one, because I made sure to put the hurt on this one. My build is starting to prove to be very dangerous, so it is. Well, any bleed build's dangerous, but my build is significantly more dangerous than most people might think. On that there, we go to the next spot just to proceed with our quest line at this stage, because we've got all the required Shabriri grapes. Now we just need the fingerprint grape to finish off her quest line. So we grab another golden seed on our way to the Grace. So we do pick up this Grace so we can warp back later on. So we are. I've just realised that the lakes is more or less just one big, it's a to-do list. So it is. Grabbing a map, and then we got invaded again. And of course, this one here, you can tell from his armor setup that he is a twink. So he is, which is hilarious in so many ways. But he's also abusing the new true combo with fists as well. So with him having both of those advantages, it's more or less I've just drawn the line of, I already know by looking at this guy that I'm going to have trouble, but basically he mops the floor with me. He has more poise, he has Storm Stomp, he has everything that he needs to just make my life a living hell, and he absolutely wallops me. I can't even deny the fact that he does wallop me. It wasn't a difficult matchup for him, he just needed to get in, so he did. But I know he's aiming for that true combo, but there's only so much I can do to outlast that kind of stuff. And what did surprise me was the overall poise damage of the fists. And then on top of that the damage that my Bloody Slash did was basically pitiful. There was nothing for him to fear from me. And normally that's, yeah. You see what I mean? There wasn't really much I was going to be able to do at that stage, so there wasn't. It was gonzoed. Yeah, the dragon didn't stand much of a chance, to be honest, but then not much really does. So we grab the keys, so we do, and progress on with our to-do list. Ah, yes, we help Yura out, taking out his lovely little assassin. And Yura, I end up getting the last hit, but it's a free smithing stone later on, so it is. Then we grab the golden seed and progress onwards. Stop by the merchant that's just down the road a bit, pick up an extra few bits because we're going to need them for later on. And then we are on our way into the Reulacaria Academy. I'm not going to lie, this place was quite dull. I didn't get invaded anywhere near as much as I had expected, so I didn't. The Red Wolf goes down, as says, the Red Wolf's a glass cannon. There ain't really much that he's going to be able to do against me. My damage is just too high at this stage. So it is. We grab an golden seed that's in the courtyard. And then we move on to actually fighting Queen Renala. What's her name? Renala of the Full Moon. Sorry, I could not remember her name there for a split second. But yeah, realistically, there's not really much to say or talk about because this fight was basically a breeze. My damage plus bleed plus just the raw damage from Bloody Slash is insane. Pop back, because now that we've got our remembrance and our Great Rune, we can increase our level by an 15. So we get ourselves rightly up. So we've got enough runes to spend here, and we split it between our arcane, our endurance and our vigor, just to make sure that we are staying healthy enough and beefy enough to continue on with everything else that has to come. As says, I'm going to say this now, there's going to be a part in this video where I'm going to stop telling you where the levels go because my build gets more and more disgusting as time goes on. After that there, we did get invaded while we were out and about, which was quite shocking. Now this guy is a twink, however, because he's got two death pokers, dual death pokers, but I just don't think he expected to run into, well, me. All in all, interesting. Dual death pokers, it just means that he's twinked. He's got the items duplicated over for him because you can't get 2 in one playthrough. You can only get 1. So, and he just can't stand up to the bloody slash. And from here on, it's more or less just an odd boss. It's just an odd boss spree at this stage. So it is. There's realistically nothing at this stage of the game for some reason that can stand against me. We did pop by the Slumbering Wolf Shack, so we can come back later, aka after we get the medallion. Even, well, the Omen killers always give me issues anyway, but we got invaded while fighting the Avatar, but unfortunately once I killed the Avatar, he was no longer here, so that was a bit of a shame, but and then we returned and grabbed Latana because we're going to progress her storyline as well. After getting Latana, it's basically boss genocide again, so it is. There's not, again, it's... I was actually a little bit shocked at how powerful this build is at this stage, and then I had this hilarious fail, dying to gravity. Well done, seems to be the only thing other than twinks that are able to kill me. And then we get another invader. Now, I noticed that there is a massive case of Reduvias being used. Now, yeah, there's a lot of Reduvias being used, and I'm assuming that there is thanks to Rage Gaming. So I am, because I think whenever I recorded this particular video, he had released the video about the massive bleed builds. Why are bleed builds always so overpowered? I swear to God. And the worst part is my build's nowhere near even near the ability to do what it needs to do just yet. But unfortunately, they get mugged off just like everybody else gets mugged off. And then we get returned to the boss genocide. There's not really much to say. So there isn't. We stopped by her and poisoned her and just sort of left her to die, which was hilarious. So I did. I hate that caster. Back to realistically at this stage, you just get the idea. There's not really many bosses that are going to be able to stop me at this stage. So there isn't. All the bosses fall relatively quickly, and even I'm pissed about that. I can't believe the Cemetery Shade survived the first hit. So I'm actually kind of raging about that. So I am. But if they're not dead, they're soon dead. And then we finally return to Encha after all the genocide. We return to Encha and again make swift work of him too. Head up to the rune. The precipice where the dragon is. And again, not much in terms of issues, bar the staggering. An breezy kill. So it is, and then we finally get our remaining 3 levels, and as far as I'm aware, we split it between Vigor and Endurance. Yeah, so we do. And then we return to deal with all the nighttime bosses now. The nighttime bosses are just breezy work. There's not, again, I expected some of these bosses at some stage to be able to stop me, but it just never happened, so it didn't. Which was a shame. Like, even the Deathbirds, holy damage against Deathbirds is just easy peasy lemon squeezy. Like, there's a Deathrite bird, and I'm not scared of them. With holy damage, there's no need to be scared. It's brilliant. Now, on the other hand, the ball bearing hunter needed to be cheesed. Then we got invaded, and he decided to kill himself. And then straight after this guy, we got invaded again by a person using another Reduvia. Again, my point is, people follow YouTube too much. That's all I'm saying. People find what's popular, and they use it. Then we're off to Carria Manor. So we are, again, not a very interesting spot to be. So it wasn't, not really much happened. Loretta had a grudge against me, oddly enough. Loretta wasn't happy with my shenanigans and decided to try and kill me after her death. That was nice. Then, of course, we are going to be progressing Ronnie's quest line, so we are. We take out the Eye of Sauron because this place is always nasty and the Eye of Sauron is always a nuisance. So it is, but again, not really much to say. I think we picked up Shabri's Howl, can't even use it. We take out Vike because we need his eye to progress a quest line. And then we grab another secret tier, and then we progress Henrietta's questline. Now, again, we will not see Henrietta until Lindell, which is actually a fair bit out at this stage, so it is. Then we went down to the Ansel River. Problem being, Ansel River, the way thing that was read down here, was a merchant that was of any use to me. Basically, he just had a few bits that I would have liked to have. So we did just a cookbook and a perfumer's book, which is always useful, like. But then on that there, it was just the Dragon King Soldier, and yeah, in comparison to the last one that I fought, this one went down without an issue, bar one stun. I was kind of raging about that because he was about to destroy. I was about to destroy him. But yeah, that's Lake's done. Next up, we're off to Mount Gelmir, so we are, because particularly Caelid, the way the Caelid's divided into two areas, aka you got Grey Roll's Arrow, it's Caelid separated into two areas, and obviously one area is really easy and the other area is excruciatingly difficult, aka everything does way too much damage and I'm just not good enough at the game for that just yet. So we're off to Mount Gelmir and Volcano Manor. Now, per se, I haven't necessarily broken my region lock rule, as we've completed every region prior to this, and we bypassed Altus Plateau to get into Volcano Manor for early upgrades. Well, not so much early upgrades, just generally just early everything, really, as well as a few other bits and bobs. One major issue I had with this area is it wasn't very entertaining. So it was quite a breezy run, I would say. Primarily because we didn't get invaded much. We went and took out the magma worm because it was just part of the to-do list, I suppose. I just felt like murdering it. I don't really have words for it. I just felt like nuking it. So I did basically a test of the build of where I'm at, so to speak, and then we went and dealt with the Godskin Duo, and of course we picked up the Centrina Lilies earlier, so we had well, an option of sleep, and I decided to go with Frost for some reason as well. But this just, I'm sorry, bloody Slash is so strong, like it is unnecessarily strong. So it is, like, I'm impressed at how powerful it actually was. So it made breezy work of just about every boss in Mount Gelmir, so it did. Talk about shocking, just a bit. And now for the one rule bend I am going to put into position is the fact that you can make your way straight to Rykard at this stage, but because there's two ways to get to Rykard. You can either do what I'm doing here, you can go straight to him through the Volcano Manor, or you can take a detour and do the entire quest lines leading up to Rykard. And for the sake of completion, I bent this rule, so I went and done the quest line for Rykard instead of going and killing him, which was in a way a good thing, but in a way a bad thing, because I didn't get to increase my levels any. So I didn't going into Caelid, so it still kind of screwed me a little bit on that, but it is what it is. And by doing it this way, we have access to Volcano Manor, aka the actual sort of the recusant side of things. So we get access to the quest lines and so on. So this is the route that we're going to take to deal with Rykard. But in saying that, there we can only deal with Rykard way later on down the road, whenever the upgrades are actually going to be usable. Because as of right now, they're not. But we do get upgrades in other ways. So we do, aka the invasions, which gives us armor. Now the first one I actually found out was quite interesting, because his armor is actually very elemental resistant, not physical, so it's the opposite to Banished Knight. And then of course, with us being sided with patches, we go take out Targoth? I can't pronounce his name right, but we get the Bulgoed armor, so that is an upgrade for us. So now we start making our way towards the Abductor Virgins, and the primary reason for this is so we can get access to the entirety of Mount Gelmir. So the Abductor Virgins wasn't really all that difficult, so it wasn't, as it says, there's not very much difficult bosses at this stage, but thanks to doing it this way is we get access to Mount Gelmir, so we completely bypass the Altus Plateau, and we immediately make a stop off at the first cave, because we're just going to kill everything on the way through, more or less. And while we're making our way through one of the forts in Mount Gelmir, we do come across an invader running a faith build. Now, at this stage, I can't really call anybody a twink, unless they've got severely endgame gear. But this guy's not so much a twink, he's just got a very heavy reliant faith build. And I think this was recorded just whenever the patch 1.8 came out. So it did buffing fist weapons, so I'm assuming he's taking the Cypher Pata out for a test. But the problem is my build is going to heavily outclass just about anything anybody else is running at this stage. So yeah, a little bit rough. And then we had the Magma Worm. Fuck this guy. Literally just fuck this guy. He kicked my ass a good few times. Twice in fact. So he did. I don't know where the struggle came from, but it was a struggle. And then our old buddy returned with the Faith build again. At this stage, I'm pretty sure he was severely annoyed. And I do say severely annoyed because at this stage, my build is getting relatively out of control. So it is surprisingly out of control. Because invaders just don't stand a chance. Unless they've got a particular gimmick to them, invaders can't kill me. So continuing the killing of bosses, we take out the demi-human and then pick up the spell Commodore so we can forward Selen's questline, of course. And then we pick up a upgrade to our weapon. This was kind of the weapon that I had ideally planned for this run, so it is. Unfortunately, it can't be used until later on. We take out a boss because that was just in the way, I guess. And then we take on the full-grown Falling Star Beast. He was the only real challenge in this run, primarily due to a few issues. My damage is pitiful, it doesn't bleed, and my weapon art doesn't chunk as hard as I would have liked it to. Plus, in general, the boss is just generally, this one specifically is just quite beefy. So it is. So he was actually the first real test. It didn't stop me from one-tapping them though, that was the advantage. But no, relatively just time-consuming, I would say. Continuing on down that path, I get one-tapped by a worm face. So my rule of thumb was I'm going to ignore these constant future. So we just proceeded to run on past the worm face and kill the ulcerated tree spirit that's just down the road. More or less just quick and simple. I've fought God knows how many of these things by now. As long as I'm beefy enough, I can kill them. And then we took out the Taunter leader Anastasia as well, because, well, she's just in the area and she's in my way, quite frankly. Just easy peasy lemons cheese. Went on to Gelmir's Hero's Grave, so we did, again, nothing interesting particularly happened, so we just went and took out the boss as normal. Unfortunately, there was only 2 invasions in this round of recording, which I was quite disappointed about, but at the same time, this nets me a summon as well as a death root, because death roots are always going to be useful. So after cleaning up Mount Gelmir, we went back and just sort of followed up on a couple of the quest lines, aka Roger's dead, Dee is dead, and Fia has now shifted her ass over to the Deep Root Depths. So she has still the T-pose teleport out, god damn it, and then because we picked up a Seedbed Curse in Mount Gelmir, we can also deal with Dung Eater's questline as well. So with Mount Gelmir, I would say about 95% finished, bar right card, we're going to head to Caelid here, and our first stop is to take out Anastasia, and we're going no more than 5 minutes in, we got invaded, and he jumps me, so he does. So I'm talking to the merchant like I talk to all the merchants. I try to buy out what I can and what I want, and this happens. He attacks me while I'm talking to a merchant. Now, he got a fully charged Grandeur off on me, and he wasn't able to one-shot me. I'm nearly sure he was as angry as I was whenever I landed it too. The difference is the fact that, again, as I'm going to say, there ain't much that there's not many invaders that can stand in the way of my build, so there isn't, and unfortunately he just falls prey to another kill. So he does. Dual Straight Swords magic build. I expected a Moonveil, guess not, but he learns this lesson very quickly and very harshly. So he does. Next up, we take a quick skate down to the Redmane Castle, and we can see that the teleport is active, which means that the Redant Festival is indeed active as well. This gives me the perfect opportunity to go and clean up whatever else I need to do at this stage. Now, we go speak with Gary to start Millicent's questline, so we do, and while we are making our way through the Swamp of Aeonia, we get invaded yet again. Yes, Caelid was surprisingly active this day, but unfortunately it's another mage that doesn't seem to learn how to level Vigor, because he very quickly learns that he's dead. Yeah, my build is just a little bit savage at this stage, so it is. And then we get invaded while in Celia, only the difference is this guy loves to run and hide behind enemies. It's just me. I would have understood if there was 3 of us. Then we pop up to Millicent to get her questline rocking and rolling as well, and then we stop in at the the only reason I'm still here, and I only came in here to pick up the grace, and then I got invaded again by another guy who likes to run away. Funny part is, this guy's another mage, and I'm assuming he's not sharing what he's doing because he's another one that gets completely mopped up. Mages need to learn the importance of vigor, so they do. Other than that, there we make our way up to Grey Roll's Barrow and Fort Faroth, I think it is. I believe it is. And we grab the other piece of the Dectus Medallion, which gives us access to the lift, obviously, as well as the Radagon Scar Seal for more upgrades. While we are dealing with Grail herself, it is a her, I believe, we get invaded yet again. So we do. So yes, Killit is exceptionally active. Double axes, interesting. Unfortunately, didn't have as much juice to back it up, which was a interesting event. I didn't expect him to go down as easy as that. And the funny part of it is, Grail was only a couple of hits from death whenever I got invaded, so it was a little bit of an inconvenience, but not something I can't deal with. Then, while talking to another merchant and dealing with stuff, I decided to sit by the campfire and I got invaded yet again. Now, I'm just sitting here, I'm minding my own business. But apparently this invader thought, yeah, I'm going to spoil the fun. You couldn't have just sat down, could you? No, you had to go straight for the Reduvia weapon art. And you're about to learn the true power of a bleed build, sir. The Reduvia is good, but in comparison to my build and what I'm capable of, your build is about as useful as a wet paper towel. Still, that was a nice finale, so it was. Just gotta give it to it. So I do. Absolutely beautiful. Then we went and cleaned up an Everjail because it's on the path of cleaning up. And then we made use of what we did in Seofa River. We went and dealt with the giant jar, or the great jar, sorry, so we can obtain the great jar's arsenal. And I am sorry, but see, the first guy I summoned was an absolute giga beefcake, so he was. I tickled this guy. My weapon arts tickled this guy. The only reason this guy died was from the bleed procs. That's the only reason this guy died. If it wasn't for that, he would have killed me. Next guy wasn't too bad. He was just an odd mage, nice and squishy. And then the last guy had a great shield and a morning star, which was absolutely hilarious. So after taking that out, we get the Great Jar's Arsenal, and that there's more or less just a giga increase to everything that we want. At this stage, we're able to roughly wear 3 pieces of the Bull Goat armor. So yeah, we are very close to becoming what will later be known as the very evil goat. But we'll keep that a secret. So while we're doing that there, I figure there's a better helmet of choice. We take out the Erdtree avatar that's guarding one of the catacombs, because in said catacomb is the wolf head. And this is more or less, from here on, is the birth of the imp goat, as I'm going to dub this one for now. Take out the catacomb bosses because realistically they're not very important. Let's just get them done out of the way while we're here. So it's just nothing to tidy up. And then we go and deal with one of the bosses so we can get access to the smithing stones. But my overconfidence at this stage gets me killed, and I have to go back for a round 2 and kill him that time. And it's more or less just for the smithing stones as well as the bell bearing. With mostly everything tidied up, it's time for the main boss, Radahn. So it is, as says earlier, his portal was active, so we can go take him out. Dealing with him will then grant me access to another 15 levels, which is nice. The fight itself wasn't all that grandiose, primarily because at this stage my build's beefy and it has a sheer amount of damage that is going to be tough to rival for the next wee while. So it is. He didn't give me much issues because of just how powerful my build was. And then thanks to dealing with Radahn, we then gain access to Nokron, which is where our next major upgrade lies. But in saying that there, we still need to deal with the rest of Caelid first. And this is the point where we level up, because it says we've unlocked another 15 levels, and we're going to split it between Vigor, Endurance, and Arcane, obviously. But I'm going to say this now. This will be the last time you see me leveling, as what this build ends up turning into will be known as the Elder Goat, and I do not need those stats revealed to anybody. And luckily enough, I did do a lot of rejigging after the build was created to not perfectly match the stats that you're going to see here. But no, this will be the last. This is my warning. This will be the last time you see anything to do with leveling. Just, I will be sticking to the level caps that I have set in place. So with our level cap increased, we just decide to go and clean up every single boss. We go feed Garank his death root, and then we have to teach him a nice little lesson in manners to quiet him down a little bit, because he got a little bit volatile. Just needed to slap some sense into him. The Black Blade Kindred fell like a sack of potatoes, which was shocking considering he's possibly one of the most difficult. Basically, thanks to the additional 15 levels that we got from Radahn, everything more or less just falls apart. And none of the bosses really pose that much of a threat. But what I did realise is these guys did pose a threat, because their damage is actually endgame level, and their durability is endgame level as well. So that was a little bit tougher than expected, but they still went down easily enough. So they did. Next up was the Godskin Apostle. Again, Sleep Pots and Blade. GG. The Clean Rot Knights fell like a sack of potatoes as well. You see the difference in the damage between me killing the Clean Rots and fighting the Beastmen was ridiculous. I cheesed the Bell-Bearing Hunter. I don't give a shit. This dude is N level as fuck, and no harm. Even if I was on a higher build, I probably still would have got slapped. I love it how you killed the goat though. Rest in peace, goat. No, fuck this guy. I hate fighting the Bell-Bearing Hunters. The Magma Worm, just a pain in the ass as normal, nothing too special. The Gladiator went down like a sack of potatoes as well. Shitty bleed defense, so they do. And then we took out Decaying Exec as well, so we did quick and easy, nice and simple. And then no more than 2 minutes later, after killing Decaying Exec, we got invaded by this chappy. Now, dude looked okay, standard strength build, wasn't all that shocked using the Warped Axe. It's got S scaling and strength. What I find funny was the damage was quite pathetic on it. So it was, and my damage was quite pathetic on him too. But this guy has a secret. He's got Horalu's Earthshaker, which I would consider an end game item. Literally an end game item, considering he's the second last boss you fight. So I would consider him twinked, in fact, because that was bullshit. And then he's also got the Dragon Halberd, which I then learned that bull goats can't poise through halberds like an idiot. It just goes to show you how I'm just used to using lighter armors than bull goats, because my overconfidence is normally the death of me. Unfortunately, Blade was the death of him. Guys, if anything this game has taught me, and making this build has taught me, it is basically the epitome of Blade is still busted. I do not give a shit what anybody says. Blade is still broken. At this stage, I shouldn't be able to mince through these bosses like they were absolute cake. So I shouldn't have been. If anybody ever says Blade isn't broken, let this be a warning that in fact Blade is definitely broken. So it is, by every stretch of the imagination, so it is. And then what makes it even funnier is Deathbirds are still not immune to holy damage. Still like that dodge though. Dodge that. Then the last real boss that we need to take out is Nail, because he's guarding the way to what I want. Thank God I have good defense. Thank God. That's him down anyway. And we need the needle, bring it to Gary so we can get Millicent's questline on the move. So that's more or less all that is. And then the one boss that did actually give me issues was, oddly enough, an ulcerated tree spirit, or a putrid tree spirit, aka the Scarlet Rot version. But at the same time, nothing a little bit of persistence and cheese can't deal with, especially on my build. Arcane builds are just flat out busted, guys. I can't even argue the point anymore. So with all the bosses being dead, there's one boss left to deal with, and it's the pre-fight against Radahn, which is the Misbegotten Warrior as well as the Crucible Knight. Two bosses that I've already dealt with in the past. There's not really much to say here, so there isn't. With Caelid now being finished, we're going to head on to Nokron, the Eternal City, and continue down this path. and we decided to go into the Mimic with full setup, which was kind of funny. So I wanted to give myself a test. I wanted to see what my build was like at fighting against it. Obviously it's got boss stats rather than my stats, but yeah, definitely an interesting fight. So after taking out the Mimic Tier, we went and just more or less immediately dealt with the Regal Ancestor Spirit. Nothing, didn't get invaded or anything, so there wasn't really anything interesting else to add. It was just a quick and easy kill against the Regal Ancestor Spirit. After that there, while making my way through Knockron, managed to kill myself with Gravity. We picked up the Occult Wet Blade, which is going to be a strict upgrade for our weapon, as well as we grabbed the Finger Slayer Blade to progress Ronnie's questline, and then we made our way down to the Seofra Aqueduct. While down in the Seofra Aqueduct, we decided to have some fun with the Crucible Knights, considering there's two of them. We made one decide to jump off the edge, which was hilarious, and the other one was just it's a quick and easy fight. And then the pain began. Began. Yeah, I'm sorry, but the Valiant Gargoyles can go and die a miserable, horrible death, in my opinion, because these bosses, this boss in general, just wiped the floor with me quite repeatedly, and I was not happy in the slightest about it. But after a lot of grinding, I managed to put them down. With the Gargoyles out of the way, we then make our way to Ronnie to progress her storyline and give her the Finger Slayer Blade. That then brings us to the Ansel River, and then on to Noxtella, which was relatively uneventful apart from this one major event against these two Mimics. Now, I'm in a beefy build, but for some unknown reason, their damage is completely and utterly ludicrous. I am a beefcake, and their damage is absurd. And for some unknown reason, Hyper Armor's a bitch. I think this is the first time where I really felt the poise damage nerf. It's either that or I'm just thinking of weird things. But no, these guys kicked my ass quite heftily, so they did. Like, to the point that I ran out of Estus and had to rely on healing stones, or warmth stones, or whatever they're called. I had to rely on them to heal. But in fairness, I did get a rather sweet revenge, because I managed to get the two of them in a sweet double kill, so I did. Still doesn't cover the fact that they kicked my ass. And then for the sheer sake of absolute revenge, we went and killed the Swordstress as well, because needless to say, I had enough. So we decided to have a chat with Miniature Rani so we could progress her storyline and get the next obstacle out of our way, which is going to be the Baneful Shadow. Not particularly a challenge of any kind, he's just a very tough mini-boss with Destined Death for some reason. And then it was on to the Lake of Rot, which at this stage we get to make use of one of the armors that we got in Mount Gelmir, aka the Mushroom Armor. So we make good use of the Mushroom Armor to be able to traverse the Lake of Rot. There is a boss in the lake. There's actually two bosses in the Lake of Rot that we're going to deal with swiftly. One of them being the Dragonkin Soldier, which we're just going to take on in full gear because at this stage it's quite easy. And then of course you have the Marble Boy himself, Astel. Astel again was another one that wasn't too much of a challenge. Both of them got one tapped. Can't really argue about it. And it's funny because the Mimic's done more damage than a boss. Let's just keep that in mind. The Mimic's done more damage and given me more hassle than a boss. Let's just keep that in mind, shall we? Off to the Academy to pick up the ring, and then off to the Moonlight Altar. Two bosses here as well that we need to deal with, one of them being Undula. Again, it's just another dragon, not really anything too impressive or scary, especially considering I'm running a bullshit blade build. And before doing anything else, we finish off Ronnie's questline. This is the perfect opportunity for me to explain what happens next, because what happens next is how do you put it? A high rate fire of everything that gets done. That's basically it. It's just cleaning up the to-do list. We take out the assassin in the Everjail with using a frost weapon because they're immune to bleed. Just because I'm using an arcane build doesn't mean that I'm not adaptable at the very least. Making quick work of Electo, then we go pick up Ronnie's Darkmoon because I need it for the Platinum Trophy on this run, because I'm going to get it this run. Then we head back, take out Blythe. I feel sorry for you, man. Madness is never nice. And then we go pick up the Bell Bearing as well. Okay, time for a mild crash course with Selin. We're going to do her storyline as well as do a few bits. First up, grabbing a spell for our platinum trophy, and then we go and pick up another spell for our platinum trophy, considering I'm in Caelid at this time. We go and then take our heart out, so we do, because we need it to progress the storyline further, of course. This just gets really convoluted. And then we talk to Jaren real quick, then we go back to Ranni's Rise to revive Selin. And then we end up siding with Selin to kill Jaren. Yes, crash course. Then to add a few pieces, we then go to the academy, kill the Godskin because it's kind of needed, and then we go pick up the curse mark as well so we can proceed with Freya's questline, and then we head back and talk with Millicent to progress her storyline as well. So with everything to date done, the next real logical way to go is to the Altus Plateau. So to explain what's coming up, basically I'm going to skip over all the irrelevant stuff, basically all the traveling and shit like that there. I'm just going to immediately skip over that. Basically we're going to just skip over everything irrelevant in the Altus Plateau. There is only really one major event in Atlas that is by any stretch of the imagination important, but other than that there, everything else will be very quickly skipped over. So while we're doing our general exploring at this stage, we just take out the Tibia Mariner here and now because there's not much point else. Then we head to the old Altus tunnel to basically it's just clean up the boss, grab some smithing stones, and that's more or less the long and the short of it at this case. That's what mines are for. We deal with the other bounty for Volcano Manor. We head to the Shaded Castle to raid up there as well. And then we take out Alimer. We didn't get invaded in the Shaded Castle, which was a damn shame. So it was. But we did pick up Millicent's prosthesis and we give it to her. Once Millicent is done, then we go and activate the grace. Basically, it's the central grace for Altus Plateau, so we do. So we've got access to everywhere else. Then we go talk to Yura and deal with Eleonora because we're going to need, well, obviously we're going to need that there Crimson Bubble Tier, or whatever that bubble tier that she drops gives us, because we're obviously going to need it to deal with Moog. And I also figured it would be an interesting little challenge to see what Blade Build versus Blade Build will end up doing. And in all fairness, there's not really much of a surprise that mine chunks quite horribly. Quite horribly indeed. Yeah, interesting. Now crash course. We take out the Sanguine Noble because it's not a boss on our path, so we do. Then we take out the Beast Claw so we can get access to the Mogun Dynasty. Then we go talk to Sunny Mask so we can progress his storyline. Take out the Black Knife Assassin because it's in our way of getting into one of the graves. This is a... We then go speak to Corlin to tell him where Sunny Mask is, so we can then progress that storyline even further, so we can get the ending as well. So we can. Then we go take out another boss that's the worm face that's guarding the Erd Tree as well. It's just an odd boss that's in the open overworld, and we just take it out as normal. Then we head down into the Altus Tunnel. While out down here grabbing the Grace, I got invaded, so I decided, well, I'm stuck, so I may as well go back down. I'm nearly sure this guy bricked it the second he seen me, because he went for it and failed miserably. Then, while I was continuing my exploration, the same Black Knife Assassin invaded me. Only this time he had a little bit more room to work with. Unfortunately, it didn't just go to plan. He has... Like, the Black Knife Assassin, or the Black Knife, is incredibly strong, but something tells me he just did not anticipate running into a very, very beefy bull goat. Also, we then find out that there is actually a cut-off section. This is how you know the areas are actually separated. So it is, which is quite funny. And yeah, Bloody Slash does a lot of damage in PvP. Boss rush time! We go and take out Godfrey because he's just quick and easy. Then we take out the Queen, which I can't remember her name. Take out the Knights Cavalry that is here as well while getting surrounded. Then we take out the Falling Star Beast as well as the two Chunguses outside the gate. Somehow survived that, but regardless, quick and easy, so it was. Still shocking. Go and take out the Omen Killer as well as the Overgrown Floor. And then we return to Corlin to, again, further progress his storyline. Continuing the slaughter, we then go and deal with the Godskin Apostle, I believe his name is. Quick and easy. Sleep pots, make it easy. Talk to Millicent to continue her questline. Take out the Crystallians so I can get the bell bearing as well, because as says, bell bearings are always useful regardless, even though they'll not be much use for them. Take out the Zamor hero as well. Seriously, not many bosses are all that difficult. Then we go and kill Lanciax. That scared me in my first playthrough, which was hilarious. One shot a pure perfumer and then proceed to put down his friend. Wow, there's a lot of bosses. Then we take out the old man and then the Black Knife Assassin, which I managed to somehow land that attack. I am still impressed. More bosses. Jesus, there's a lot of bosses. Into the sealed tunnels, take out the boss again, and we also, while down here, picked up the bell bearing as well, because simple as. Decided to kill the gargoyle, even though he's not a main boss. Went and picked up golden parry. Jesus Christ, this is a list. Took out Morgott again. And then we finished off at the Hermit's Shack. So this is more just to pick up a few small items, aka rune orcs, the perfume bottles, as well as the Sentry's Torch, as well as taking a gander at a few of the armors. So many bosses. Down goes an bell-bearing hunter as well as a deathrite bird. After taking them two out, we then stopped and spoke to Bogart. The main reason for this is simply so we can get some boiled crab. Boiled crab for PvP, always good. It's even good for bosses too, shockingly enough. So it is. And then back to Volcano Manor to cash in our bounty, and then went and picked up another 2 bounties off of Bernal. Then off to Azur's hero's grave. While in the grave we did get invaded, but I'm nearly sure I scared the ever-living crap out of this guy. He is holding a moon veil, which is quite shocking. I'm surprised he did not immediately try to attack me, but I just stood and stared at him, which was absolutely hilarious, and I do mean insert Patrick meme here. He's just standing there, menacingly. Other than that there, I was asked to do the Crucible Knight duo parry only. First attempt failed miserably, and I sped up the second attempt because, well, this lasted 4 minutes. So I figured that I may as well do it this way. So yeah, long story short, I was on TikTok, I believe it was. Somebody had asked me, have I ever parried just beaten the duo boss just with parries, and well, here's my evidence is the way that I meant to say it. So yeah, I took out the Crucible Knight duo due to a challenge with only parries, which wasn't. I got very sluggish on my parries, and I then also learned that I'm terrible at parrying the spear wielder. So I am absolutely dreadful at parrying the spear wielder. The range of the spear always it messes me up something serious, so it does. As for the other one, Odorvis, he's actually not too bad, but then he's the first Crucible Knight that you meet, so you learn how to parry him. So you do. That's where you learn. You don't merely. Who's the first spear wielder you meet? First spear wielder would be in Siofra? The Aqueducts, maybe? Unless you just speedrun it straight to Lindell? Pretty much, aye. As far as I'm aware, that's the case anyway. I don't think you meet one earlier. The only thing you can really say is it's just super annoying. So she is, in my opinion, at the very least in my opinion, because I failed at parrying this one so many times. Specific setup. Don't have the Bulgoed armor anymore because I've got a specific setup specifically for parries. So I do. So yeah, that was fun, and grueling is the best way to put it. But at the end up, that's right. I think she survived it with yeah. That annoyed me. Can't believe she survived that. I was so eager to just turn around and slash her, but no. I stuck to the challenge, failed miserably, got greedy, and near died, and then finally finished it with the last parry. God damn it. Then just another boss kill, and then it's more or less 2 events left for this one, so it is. We got invaded on the way to the Draconic Tree Sentinel. Now, I decided to wait, and he ran away. The reason why I waited was because I was not engaging him while getting pelted at by giant archers. That's just not going to happen, so I went and found him. And this is where the point of a vigor check comes in. Well, it could either be a vigor check or just my damage is absolutely bullshit absurd. It's just a matter of choice at that stage, so it is. But no, this guy looked very normal. Bloodhound's fine. All good. Until he got smacked. Then at this point, then I was worried. Because he dodges this, misses, and then look at it. Like, seriously, he got two-topped. Come on, level your vigor. And then the draconic tree sound. I'm sorry, but if you wanted a descriptive of power, yeah, I think this build just it says enough. Because this boss gave me such a hassle on my first playthrough that this felt so nice. And now we have access to the capital, but before we continue onto the capital, there is a singular loose end that we must clean up, being the grafted silo. Now into Lindell, and time for... Oh, this tickles, so it does. We get invaded, right? And I don't know how I missed this, so I really don't, right? But just watch this clip, right? And tell me where the mistake is here, right? This clip here, right? I don't know how I didn't see him. Right? Slow motion. There he is there, right? I don't know how I missed him in this recording, but it is funny, right? Resume the play, right? And then, like, I must be blind. Because there he is stalking me, waiting for me. And I was just like, dude, I'm right here. Why are you ignoring me? And then he ran right past me. So he did. Which was hilarious. This tickled me so much, but he jumped on down and he went looking for me, so he did. Oh, this just tickled me to no end, so it did. It just, he's down in the corner somewhere and I'm just like, dude, I can see you. But how did you not see me? It's just like, dude. Like, there's the lady took the lift down. It's just... And then he finally found me and got a full whale off and didn't kill me. How? Like, really? How annoyed must you have been to wail on somebody and not get a bleed proc? Because that was a lot of bleed he did stack up on me. I ended up actually having to use a red bulbous to counter it. But no, and then he actually landed Lifesteal Fist. I have to admit, well done, dude. I didn't see that coming, I didn't expect it to come. But at the same time, it's a case of, guys, how many invaders have we slaughtered at this stage? One more is not going to make a difference. And it's a claw build too. I know claws got buffed. I've used claws before they were buffed. I know what they're capable of. But finally, we buff up and go for an hour round, only this time he's not lucky enough to get off on this one, so he isn't. Yeah, just the intimidation factor of this build is more than enough to annoy people, but scare them too. So it is, I just don't want that envoy digging in, so I back up a little bit, and then he gets absolutely blasted in an instant. GG, sir! So after our last little bit of shenanigans, went back to the Grace just to rest up here, so I did, and then literally as I was doing my exploration, I got invaded, so I did. But the thing is though, the dual katana build is still, don't get me wrong, the dual katana build is still strong, especially in this setup, but at this stage of the game, guys, I think we already know what to expect whenever it comes to fighting invaders. Got basically chain invaded back to back, and both of them fell to the same combo, which was remarkably funny. After the two invasions, we just continued on through the map, and nothing really of interest really happened, but we finally managed to make it to the round table hold in Lindell, and the only real thing that's here that we need to do is take on the Bernal assassination, so we did. And then soon after that there, we went and spoke to the Sunny Mass to progress his storyline, and then proceeded to deal with the Godfrey Shade. So after the Golden Shade, we got set up to use Law of Regression on the statue. The reason for this is obvious, so we can progress Goldmask's quest, and the next time we see him will be in the mountaintop of the Giants. Now it's on to Morgott, the Omen King. Morgott, for as much as I love this fight, I do apologise, but my build made him basically cake. But the thing was, I got to have my cake and eat it at this stage, because I'm sorry, but blade builds are still broken. I don't give a shit who says what. Blade builds are still busted. With Lindale Capital sorted out, now we go to the subterranean shunning grounds. There's two reasons for this, but the first one is obviously to speak with Dung Eater. So it is because we want to progress his storyline, plus something hilarious happens to him later on in this quest line, and trust me, you'll not know what it is. After that there we got invaded. Now this turned into like a bow fight, because the problem is there was an omen behind this guy. So I couldn't hard engage this guy, which was annoying, and he kept using the omen as a shield. And then he switched to the fingerprint shield and proceeded to one-tap me, or multi-tap me. That was just the height of cruelty, and the fingerprint shield still busted. Wasn't long before the same guy invaded me again, only this time there's no omen to help him. So we can automatically see what's going to return the favour. Exactly. I love it. And then, no longer than soon after, I had ran out of the majority of my healing, so I tried to keep some stocked up. So I used a Starlight Shard and a Warming Stone to just rejig myself, because we had another invader in our world. How beautiful. Only main problem was this guy both had a Moonveil and Rivers of Blood, which was a combination that I wasn't too keen to try and box with. Funny point was he didn't try to actually use the rivers, which was interesting, but he did get a royal slapping, so he did. Problem was he was a little bit laggy at the same time the second that I did hit him the first time, but you ain't escaping the scimitar rundown, or the curved sword rundown. Ain't happening, dude. So we continued on, took out one of the bosses in the sewers. Wasn't really a challenge, but then nothing really is. Funny point though is I found out that you can summon Dung Eater to help you fight Moog. Didn't actually know that. And for a boss that likes to use bleed, he's not very resistant to it, so he isn't. Because he got mugged off quite easily as well. Then it's into the hardcore parkour section of the subterranean shunning grounds. It's not even the subterranean shunning grounds anymore, really, is it? But yeah, no, this place managed to collect one death from me via gravity, but then it's better than nothing. It's better than 4 or 5. Then I finally managed to make my way down safely, shockingly enough. So I did. We died once, so that's an improvement over my last attempts. And then we embraced the 3 fingers, because originally what I wanted to do was burn the world. Then, after embracing the 3 fingers, we decided to take the long way to Deep Root Depths. Technically, we already had access to this area, but of course I decided to take the extraordinarily long way around for some reason, so I did. And funny point was, it wasn't long before I got invaded, and look, credit where credit is due. This dude tried to sneak up on me with a Mimic's Veil. Credit when credit is due. And credit for his build, he's running a strength build with a big damn hammer, but unfortunately that means nothing whenever you're fighting the Imp Goat. I'm calling him the Imp Goat because he's not the Elder Goat just yet. But yeah, GG dude. Now it's time to clean up Deep Root Depths. First off, we're going to just go and deal with the Crucible Knight, quick and easy, and then back up to deal with Fia's champions. All I can really say is the only 2 that really was in any way tanky. Literally, the only 2 that were in any way tanky was the 2 that were NPCs. The other ones were nothing but breezy work. Anybody who has their builds, guys, level your vigor. If it is the way that it works, level your vigor, because the bosses have more health than you do. It's insane. Then next up, it's Fortisax. So it is Fortisax, for as epic as a boss as it is at this stage. My build's just too damn strong, so it is. Then we're going to make our way across to the lift that brings us up to the Forbidden Lands, or down to the Forbidden Lands, I think is a more accurate term. So it is, but first of all, we've got 2 other omens to take out. It's a mini omen boss fight, I guess, so it is quick and easy, not too difficult. And then we went back to talk to Bogart, so we did. I still feel bad for Bogart. He did have the worst fate, so he did. But, actually, did Dung Eater have the worst fate? I'm not quite sure. I'm nearly sure it was probably more painful. R.I.P. Dung Eater. Then, while we're making our way through the Forbidden Lands, took out the Knights Cavalry, quick and easy. It's just a boss fight, so it is. And then we also took out the Blackblade Kindred, which was easier than I had anticipated. So now we've got the Mountaintop of the Giants. The Mountaintop of the Giants is literally just a straight line. We're just going to deal with everything as we come to it. AKA, we're in the catacombs. We're just going to go immediately and just immediately take out the boss. Not really much else point in backtracking at this stage. while we were moving through the mountaintop of the giants, we got invaded, and funnily enough, it was this exact demi-human that alerted me to this invader running rivers of blood. Of course, as soon as he's seen me, he spammed it. He's going to very quickly learn to regret that little that little idea, because I don't think he understands that he's up against an off-bleed build. Difference is he makes the mistake and finds out quite quickly that yeah, I'm not somebody to mess with, so I'm not, and he falls quite quickly. So then we went and took out Juno. This is the last major assassination that we need to take out before we can go kill Rykard. Realistically, is Rykard ever a challenge? Only a challenge if you're not using the Serpent Hunter, but the Serpent Hunter ain't banned on this run, so GG Rykard. Then we went and took out Tanith's Crucible Knight as well, because fuck it. There's Volcano Manor cleaned up. Back to the mountaintops, and the mountaintops was oddly active, but unfortunately, guys, if this build hasn't displayed anything yet, it's the fact that this build is disgusting. So it is. Then we went and took out the double avatars, quick and easy, so it was. Then we took out the Tibia Mariner, again, quick and easy, and holy damage makes these enemies jokes. We made our way to Castle Sol, and this is where the invasions got a little bit out of hand. We got chain invaded so many times, and this is the first person to beat me in a while. In fairness, he is using a Moonveil, but double in fairness, I'm using a Blade build. This guy invaded me a few times, but I think he just got fed up, because as soon as he seen me, he started disconnecting. I killed him twice. He did hide behind the lands at one stage, so I didn't have much mercy. Got literally straight to Fort Sol and got to Commander Nile and got invaded at the door. And unfortunately, whips versus bull goats. Which wins? You tell me. Shockingly enough, Commander Nile was not that much of an issue, to be honest. A Scarlet Rat pot by, and he's not going to be worth much. So he ain't. Like, I have to admit, for such a difficult boss fight, he went down easy. Then you had the Dragon of the Boreal Frost. I'm not sure which one it is. He went down quick and easy as well. And while we were making our way through the cave, yes, we got invaded by another bull goat. Only one that's using the Godskin Stitcher. My most usual way of dealing with the Godskin Stitcher is normally just parrying it, but I don't have a proper setup, and he more or less just set up parries me. He was the first person to actually put me down respectively and lived, and then points down. Unfortunately, he never invaded again. On to the Godskin Gauntlet, which was fun, but quite frankly, they went down quite easily. To be fair, I don't think I've had a challenging Godskin fight in a while, so I haven't. I've made quick work of anything that's Godskin related in this run, so I have. And then, well, the Spear Collar Snail really isn't that much to talk about. It went down easy. Then we went and took on Vike. Now, this is one thing I do want to state, is I would love to see the War Spear without the madness. Because this version of Vike uses the War Spear without the madness. And it's something I would like to see too. Just the unmaddening version. Then we went to the Giant Conquering Hero's Grave. Again, quick and easy, so it was. I love it how the only real challenge I get in this run is Invader NPCs. Okeana actually did manage to give me a run for my money. And then Fire Giant. Is there much that really needs to be said? Not quite. I'm using a Blade build, so yeah, he went down relatively easy, if I'm being honest. Like, stay behind him and just proc Blade. That's really all I can say. After Fire Giant, we're away to the Hollig Tree, so we are. Basically, mimic boss fight. I wanted to test myself a little bit and see what the build was capable of. Not much, apparently. And then we have the Blinding White, of course. Hate this area. But we got invaded. And this guy, I don't really have words. It's an arcane build, but he made me laugh. Because as soon as he found me, he just went, nope, 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 nope. And then ran far enough away. Now, you can hear it and you can see it, but he went for the Rot Breath at that distance? Really? This tickled me, so it did, because I wanted to see, right, does this guy have health, or is he just going to try and rot me? I'm starting to think people don't understand the concept of, you're relying too hard on certain things, and then he doesn't have health. Fun! We get ourselves the Elder Goat helmet, or the Elder Imp helmet, which is more or less just screaming birth of the Elden Goat. We went and took out the other, the other gladiator. That was it. And then this is the first person to meet the Elder Goat in the wild. And he buffed himself with the wrong ability. He must have thought I was using magic, which I really am not. I'm using bleed, dude, and you're using the Cypher Pada, and dude, you're about to learn a rough lesson from me, so you are. Don't mess with me. Yeah, this is where the build really started to pop the fuck off. So it did. And then we took out the Theodorix. Great Worm Theodorix. I'm sorry, but I hate Great Worms because that attack just has such a massive AoE. So it does, and I felt my ability slipping at this stage. Then we went into the nearby cave, so we did. And we got invaded by the same chap, and I'm assuming he didn't learn from his last lesson, so he didn't, just don't trade with me. It's not going to be beneficial to your health. And then we went and took out the Misbegotten, which was not a difficult fight, but not an easy fight by any stretch, so it wasn't. And then we took out Anastasia. So I left this full fight in because this one here was probably the most meta dude. So he's got a Bloodhound Step, Clean Rot Rapier, so he does. So this guy is the epitome of invading. Like, his build is so catered to dealing with multiple people, but it's not good at dealing with a singular bull goat, so it isn't. But as in saying that, this is an invasion, and I think this guy just has one too many ideas of how to do it. So he does like Bloodhound Step, like he is, like, I'm not going to criticize anybody's build in invasions, so I'm not, but I did laugh at how the level of effort he went into to make such a build. But the thing is, though, he's probably not ran into a build like this, so he hasn't. And he does lots of things. So we reset, we buff up, we heal up, and then he switches over to the greatsword. But what I find bizarre, though, is he goes straight for the poke. It's nearly like people don't learn. Like, I've learned how to deal with the greatsword poke. The Serpent Hunter poke's a different kettle of fish entirely, but the greatsword poke is so easy to counter now. And I'm just looking at him here, like, I'm just like, is that all you're going to do? Is that it? Like, really, dude? Is that all you're going to do? Like, you're just the standard greatsword user. As soon as anybody comes close to you, you bloodhounds, and then you immediately press R1 afterwards. That's all you do. And I just rinsed and repeated, start clapping at him, basically just ripping the ever-living piss out of him. So I was entertained at the fact, it's not that I'm beating on his build or anything, it's just I'm entertained at the fact that people just don't learn. I don't fear this guy at all. So I don't, and then he switches over to the Flowing Hammer, which is okay, interesting if you're running a pure strength build, which from what I can see, he is. And then he makes the grave mistake of switching to something that doesn't have Bloodhound Step on it. You can tell he has a pure reliance on Bloodhounds, and now he is going to learn that he really should have kept Bloodhounds on. And then I look into his eyes as he dies. Then we go and take out the other avatar that is in the consecrated ruins. So we do, quick and easy. It's not all that much of a challenge. And then, as says, the Golden Epitaph, holy damage, makes these bosses a cakewalk. Then we take out the Sanguine Noble, quick and easy, not too challenging there. Make our way to the Annex Tunnels, again, just made our way through. Got invaded. This guy has my one counter, holy damage. Problem is, he didn't come expecting me to go as aggressive as I did, and he got absolutely butchered. Now, this version of Astel is normally considered more difficult, just not for me. My damage is through the roof, so it is. And then we've got the duo of Knights Cavalry. What do I say? Quick and easy, I suppose, would be the cleanest way of saying it. Not a challenge in the slightest. Then we go to the Evergoal. I was planning on skipping this, but this is what the Evergoal consisted of. I was sitting with a bow. That was it. This is what the Evergold consisted of. We just killed the Black Knights as normal, and then we peppered these guys with arrows. Look at that pretty face. Oh, and then we're away off to the Halig tree. So we are. So all in all, the Halig tree, Michaela's Halig tree, this area, so to speak, more or less, guys, we just made a straight beeline for it. So we did. Not really much happened here. So there was one invasion which is coming up, but basically it was just we're just going to hightail it as fast as we can through this area. So we are. We got invaded. Just outside of Loretta's, just outside the shortcut, so we did. I didn't actually use the shortcut skip, which was actually kind of shocking. I was planning on using it, but this guy just charged head first at me, so he did. Started off with a crossbow, no manners, so I'm just like, right, let me teach you what bleed is. You want to try and bleed me with a crossbow? How about I teach you what actual bleed is? I think he used the wrong thing, so he did. He went for his mixed physic instead of his actual tears. And then, if anybody thought Loretta was going to be a challenge, you're mistaken. Next up, Brace of the Halig Tree. So it is. There was only really one thing that really was an issue here, and that was dealing with this oversized piece of actual shit. This thing was a nuisance to deal with, so it was, and yeah, I was a nuisance. He killed me once or twice, so I just decided, right, I'm just going to fight you in your own rot. And then we decided to help out Millicent, taking out our sisters, which realistically wasn't a challenge. After we took out the first two, Millicent more or less had the last one dealt with. And then we got the needle that we're going to need later on. And this is probably the part where everybody has been waiting on. How does it fare against Millennia? Now, the thing is, guys, just because of PvP, like this build's a PvP build, doesn't mean it's going to be good in PvE. I will not be ashamed to admit that Millennia, royally and truly, kicked my ass. And I'm not going to deny that fact, because I think of all bosses, Millennia is the one I have fought the least. So she is. Finally got her into her phase 2. My build does prove to be powerful, it's just I'm really shit at fighting Millennia in general. I'm not good at fighting her. So it's the obligatory death montage against Millennia. And again, I'm not going to deny the fact that I got my ass repeatedly and unequivocally whooped. I'm not a PvE player by the extent of it, but as I said, this is my first run at doing this kind of thing. So it is, so yeah. I'm not going to turn around and say I'm embarrassed. I'm just going to outright say that Millennia was the one boss that pushed me far beyond the extent of skill that I thought I could display. That is the best, like, she is a skill test. Unless you are running an absolutely disgustingly busted, overpowered build, she's easy. No, I got that wrong. She's easy if you are running a disgustingly bullshit overpowered build. But whenever you're running just a normal build, or at least normal by an extent, yeah. Basically, she just showed where my skills were lacking. My knowledge of Millennia ain't good. I think this is, in the entire history of me playing Elden Ring, I think this is the 4th or 5th time I have killed her. But here's where the shocking part is, guys. This is the first time I've beaten Millennia by myself. And what I mean by myself, I mean no spirit ashes, no help from other people. This is actually the first time that I have beaten this boss with skill and cheese. The skill to stay alive and the cheese to do the damage. This is the first time I've beaten her legitimately. So with Millennia out of the way, it's time to go try and get my way to Moog. Moog's my next target, so he is. So we went and finished up Vari's questline real quick, so we did. And went straight for his dynasty, so we did. But for the sake of argument, I went and killed Vari just to be, well, mean. And then really the next target up was Moog. And for the dude to be the Lord of Blood, he is relatively weak to bleed. the combination of Bloody Slash and the shielding physic, I'm sorry, but my damage against Moog was absolutely insane. So it was between the actual just raw damage and the bleed build-up, it was insane. The only issue that I actually did find fighting Moog was the fact that he liked to fly. Trying to get him to stay in one area long enough for me to actually get off a Bloody Slash was a nuisance. But other than that there, my damage was that high against Moog. His damage isn't that insane against me, which is shocking. But Moog is what I would consider easier than Millennia. So after Millennia, Moog was more or less just a piss take at this stage. To be fair, anything after Millennia is a piss take, to be honest. But no, Moog got very close to killing me a few times, but he was never able to seal the deal, and with Bloody Slash being as devastating as it is, Moog was easy. So after taking out every boss that I can think of before going to Farm Missoula, I think we've taken out just about every boss. I think. I'm not sure, but I've done the numbers and I think I've killed every single boss. It's time to go to Farm Missoula, so it was. And straight after killing the dragon, we get invaded, so we do, by an interesting faith build, might I add. I just sort of, he just arrived just as I was just finished killing the dragon, so he did. So, me trying to be the super intimidating Elden goat, oh god, the Elder goat as I am. Basically we're just going to have a see here. But no, I know this guy's running a faith build because the first thing he does is he immediately goes for Beast Claw. Funnily enough, you would never really see it, so you don't. It's very rare that you see Beast Claw, so it is. But he's trying to go full hog on it, and he's in light armor, which is a nuisance. So it is. I'm trying to kill him as quick as possible here. And then he has double Malekith. He doesn't just have the incantation, he has a sword as well. But the problem is his rolling speed. Well, he manages to get out of that one, but he doesn't succeed in getting out of this one. Next up, we got invaded again, but this guy, I believe, is new. He's a caster with the Moonlight Greatsword, so that's okay. But he doesn't seem to, it sounds like I'm playing with my food, but he doesn't seem to understand the full concept of what PvP is like, and therefore gets a very swift end. I do feel sorry for this one, so I do, of all of them. And then the obligatory Godskin duo fight. Now, I have kept the entirety of this fight in, so I have, simply just to demonstrate the absolute nastiness that this build can be. But then whenever you combine it with Sleep Pots just trivializes anything Godskin related. So it does, between Sleep and or Bleed, it more or less just straight up trivializes anything Godskin related, so it does. My damage is absurd. And down goes the first one. As long as you're able to separate the two of them out long enough to be able to sleep pot each of them, it's more or less breezy work at that stage. There's not really much that can do to stop you, so there isn't. Would you even consider it overwhelming power, or is it just the fact that Bleed in combination with Sleep is just easy mode? Especially against one of the most difficult bosses, it is just easy mode. You just combine Sleep Pots with Bleed. And if anybody ever says Bleed isn't overpowered, you are so wrong. It's not even funny. You are just so wrong. I've also noticed this place is quite active whenever it comes to invasions as well. Because we get invaded in more or less back to back to back to back. It's insane, so it is. This one's a mage. I don't think he understands the caliber of what he's against, because the second he makes one mistake, he gets instantly messed up. Instant mess up. There was nothing stopping me, so there wasn't. And then literally no more than about 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, give or take, we got invaded on the just outside of the lift, and it's the same incantation wheeler that we fought before. But I'm assuming he hasn't learned from his lesson the last time, because again, I'm using Bloody Slash, and Bloody Slash is bullshit. So it is. On the other hand, this chappie right here, me and him, okay, right, I'm not even gonna lie, I was waiting for him to come down the lift, but he didn't want to come down the lift. So I went up the lift, and he was waiting for me at the top of the lift. So both of us just stood at either side here. He sent the lift back down, and we just stayed here. So we did. taunting each other kinda, and this made me giggle, guys. I'm not even gonna lie, this made me giggle. So it did. So I started throwing pots to see if I can get a little bit of like room to get in on him. But it seems that he had different ideas, so I threw an Asleep pot in, and he had switched to the jar cannon, which was a massive mistake. Absolutely massive mistake. So it was beautiful. So it was absolutely beautiful. And then straight after that, we get invaded again. Only this guy used Mimic Veil to try and get the upper hand on me. But if we have learned anything as of yet, it basically means that I am scary. And I have fought Bloodhound's Fang that many times that it's not scary to me in any way, shape, or form. It's very rare that I'm scared of a Bloodhound's Fang, primarily because I'm able to parry the weapon art. That's the only reason it gets beat on as much as it does, is because its weapon art is parryable. But at the same time, if you learn the weapon, it actually has a nearly like a true combo. So it's kind of like a true combo, so it is. But no, I want to get rid of this guy as quick as possible before he goes and tries to get the Draconic Tree Sentinel's help. And then I just realized to myself, shit, if I'm getting invaded here, I need to go deal with this guy real quick before I get invaded again, or else people are just going to sit and hide behind him. So I immediately made my way to take out the Draconic Tree Sentinel. And well, guys, if you haven't noticed anything yet, it basically means that my build is stupid overpowered and the Draconic Tree Sentinel is nothing more than a slight pushover. So it isn't, yeah, that was quite fun. So it was. The Draconic Tree Sentinel wasn't that much of an issue. Well, no boss is really much of an issue, so it is at this stage. But no, quick and easy, dealt with the Draconic Tree Sentinel, and funnily enough, as I had legitimately just said, as I was making my way back from killing the Draconic Tree Sentinel, guess what happened? I can guarantee you now you'll figure it out very damn quick. I'm making my way back to go deal with Placidusax, so I am. But I can't warp. I wonder, can you tell me why I can't warp? Take a guess. Oh, you already know. Just after defeating the Draconic Tree Sentinel, I get invaded again. So this was the exact reason to why I took out the Draconic Tree Sentinel, was that exact reason. Only this chappie is, oh yes, he's the resolve guy. I can't feel bad for this guy, because I discovered a clean weakness to this style of build, and it is as follows. You can backstab the running attack. That's insane, so it is. Other than that, there, carrying a slicer versus a blade build, that's not going to work out well for you at all. And the obligatory kill. GG, dude. So after taking out our last invader, we finally got our opportunity to go take out Placidusax. And this dude is beefy. So he is. And I mean beefy. I think this fight lasted about 5 minutes, give or take, so it did. And I ended up having to resort to using the raw dumplings to get health back, because his damage and the amount of health he has is absolutely insane. And then we get rid of the Frenzied Flame, because I want the Platinum Trophy, so I do. And then making our way back to Malekith, we get invaded again. Guys, I'm telling you, between Far Missoula and Mountaintop of the Giants, it is the two most active areas in the entire game. It is insane. So it is. This is, as far as if I can see right, that's a Madness Spear I'm looking at. Incantation build. Okay. Not scary in the slightest. Unfortunately not. It's just not scary anymore to me. Then next up is Malekith, and I think I'm probably one of the only people that believe that Malekith's first form is actually more difficult than his second form. His first form's weak to bleed. I think he's just in general weak to bleed, but first form was quick and easy. Second form was slightly more erratic, I would class it. Still one of the most top 10 transformations of all time. Like that just looks absolutely mwah. I love the look of Malekith, so I do. And the only reason I kept this part in instead of getting straight to the kill was because I literally pulled off the dodges of a lifetime, so I did. Now, the last dodge just looked so nice, so it did. The last dodge and the blade, beautiful. and then an easy Malekith. And of course, the first thing that happens whenever we get to the Ashen Capital is we get invaded. So we do, by somebody who is cosplaying as an assassin. Dude, I'm the wrong build to try and assassinate, but I give him kudos for his offense. The thing is quick step doesn't work on curved swords, so it doesn't unless you've got a shit ton of poise. But GG nonetheless, dude. And then, well, Gideon Ofnir is not much of a challenge if you immediately just start wailing on him. And considering 2 bloody slashes procs bleed, yeah, not really all that much of a challenge. And then you've got Godfrey. He actually managed to get a kill on me, shockingly enough. Still love this fight. He is the original Giga Chad, so he is. I'm not even going to deny that fact. But where my mistake came in, though, was the fact that I thought I had immunity frames while I was on my back, and I completely forgot. So no, I did not have immunity frames and decided to go back for round 2, and this time I remembered to dodge. So I did. But Godfrey's still a good fight. Still a fun fight, so it is. And then we managed to get him into his Horaloo stage, if I'm remembering correctly. Still the original Giga Chad. That's all I have to say. But at the same time, though, his phase 2 isn't much more difficult. His attacks are more delayed, but it doesn't really make much of a difference in that scenario because it's still easy enough to beat him. So it is, per se. And now it's time for Radagon, so it is. Now here's where the stupid part actually is. On this run, Radagon was actually easier than Elden Beast for me. Now normally it's meant to be the other way about, but Radagon went down very easily on this run. Like, be it my damage or whatever, Radagon went down real easy, so he did. And then that just left me with Elden Beast, so it did. But Elden Beast actually, surprisingly enough, was actually able to secure a victory on me, so he was. Which I'm kind of miffed about, so I am, now looking back. But then we rinsed and repeated, and Radagon still went down as easy as the last time, so I wasn't really complaining, only this time I had a bit more health to work with against Elden Beast. And then, that still annoys me, so it does, I got too greedy on it. And then Elden Beast then very quickly followed suit, so he did. Wasn't really that difficult. So with all that being said, we then finished the game using Ranni's storyline, and I got the platinum trophy at the same time as doing this ending. So I managed, now as it says, just to do a quick recap of everything that has happened while the ending cutscene plays, this was more or less just a challenge run, just to test the extent of the Taunter's Tongue run. Now, that was a fun little twist, so it was to all of this, so that was a very fun little twist. And then we also implied the level lock rule as well, which was good fun as well. I enjoyed that. The level lock definitely added a little bit more of a twist. I had to think a little bit more outside the box because of that. What else? The region lock was definitely interesting. The region lock really caused me to have to think on my areas as I progressed. Like, I know there was a little bit of rule bending, but at the same time, though, it still created an interesting challenge. I know I'm going to get a lot of slack for running a bleed build on my first challenge run, but this is more just the test challenge run, so it was more to just test the rules of it. Now that I think back, it was mostly just to test the rules of the run rather than make it a challenge run all in all, if that makes any sense. So we'll probably keep the same set of rules, and we'll probably try doing weapon locks. Weapon locks are only certain weapons and only incantations, only spells. You know what I mean? Stuff like that there. So it was, but all in all, you get the idea of what the future challenge runs will be like. So it will, and some of them I will say will probably be really rough, I'm assuming. But I'll probably put a post up alongside this video saying that would you like to see only incantations, only spells, a weapon lock run, so I'm locked to a very specific type of weapon, stuff like that there. It's just to try and sort of flush it out a little bit. I think the main integration to it was the PvP side of things. So adding the PvP to a challenge run definitely makes it interesting, so it does. So it's just probably a little bit more interesting than running a bullshit busted build though. Because for anybody who ever says bleed ain't broken, they are bullshitting. So they are. So guys, I hope you all enjoyed this nearly, it's probably over an hour long, so it is. I hope you all enjoyed. So guys, please like, share and subscribe. And guys, I shall hopefully see you in the next challenge run or the next weapon showcase. You never know.